That's better. Sunday GUNDAY. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things, and we have a strange one today. I like branching out into this weird, almost niche, purpose-built gun category, and this one fits that description perfectly. There are obviously many uses for guns, and I have found that these firearms that are designed for a very specific purpose typically end up being very fun to shoot. So today we're going to find out if that holds true by taking a look at the U.S. Survival AR-7 by Henry Repeating Arms. Survival rifles like this were brought to life back in 1959 when U.S. Air Force pilots found the need for a compact, small caliber rifle that would be portable and easy to use. Today, these guns are now a common favorite of backpackers, hikers, and bush pilots for a majority of the same reasons. Like the original Henry U.S. Survival rifle, the AR-7 is a lightweight and highly portable semi-automatic .22. When stowed away, this package comes in at just 16.5 inches long and weighs in at about 3.5 pounds. It can easily fit into the cargo area of a plane, boat, or even a backpack. When disassembled, all of the pieces fit inside the impact and water-resistant stock. I've even heard that this thing might float, so maybe we have to test that out while we're at it. Assembly is as easy as attaching the receiver to the stock, inserting the barrel, and screwing on the nut in just a few seconds without any tools. This comes standard with a steel barrel covered in ABS plastic with a protective coating for complete corrosion resistance. There are also two 8-round mags included in the stock, and if you choose to, which I would, you can keep these mags loaded while it's stowed away. The AR-7 comes standard with an adjustable rear sight, a bright orange front blade, and they are offered in a few different finishes depending on your taste. So this rifle is very unique to say the least. I already have some questions and concerns of my own, like how will the accuracy be with all of the removable components, and does this thing actually float? Why don't we go test that out real quick? Keep in mind that this thing is water resistant, not waterproof, so there's a good chance that the stuff inside of here may get a little bit wet, but we're doing it for science. Yeah, I would say that definitely floats. It's gonna float away if I don't hold on to it. Very cool. Alright, so this thing does actually float. I guess some of the air gets trapped up in here towards the grip of the stock, and that's enough to keep all of the heavy components down in this end afloat. Now, like I said, this is water resistant, not waterproof, so if I had to guess, I would say there is a little bit of water in the inside. Yeah, there's a little bit of water, but surprisingly, it's not that bad. Now the receiver and barrel and everything are wet, so I will definitely make sure that I take this thing home and oil it really good after shooting it today. Like I said, the barrel is corrosion resistant, so I shouldn't really see too much of an issue there. The magazines should be fine. These are relatively inexpensive, just little 8-round mags. And then the receiver, I'm definitely going to want to pay a little bit more attention to this. I really don't want to get rust inside of this thing, so I will make sure I detail strip this thing and get everything all cleaned up. Now for the assembly, this thing isn't quite as easy to put together as shaking it, as you guys saw, but this is how it goes. Receiver into the stock, hold it down in the back. On the underside here is a plastic wing nut style screw. Just give that a few twists up into the receiver until it is tight. Now I will take the barrel and line up the pin with the slot on the top of the receiver. You want to make sure you push that down and lock it into the back, and then tighten down the nut. Now take some magazines and load them up. I'm using some Federal today. Should be coming out of the barrel around a little over 1,200 feet per second. Now I'll slap one of these mags in the gun and we'll be ready to go. So let's head out for a first mag impression. Okay, let's do one more. All right. All right guys, back for my first mag or 2 mag impression of the AR-7. I'll start off with the ergonomics. Now because all of these components obviously fit inside the stock is very beefy. So if you have small hands, you might have a hard time getting a good grip on this, but then again, it is a 22, so you really shouldn't have too much of an issue. Another thing that you notice right away is that the receiver sort of sits off to the right side of the rifle when you're aiming down the sights. This is no issue for me because I am a righty, however, a lefty might find it a little bit more awkward because you'll have to hang your eye off to the right side of the rifle a bit more. Here's a better look at that as well as the sight picture. As you can see in the rear, there is a very small peephole, and then up front, you'll find a big bright orange blade, and then the front of it is actually serrated. That way it'll cut down on any glare coming off of the barrel. The controls on the side here are very easy to get to. You have a thumb safety in the rear. If you pull out this little knob here, that is actually the charging handle. And then in front of the trigger here is the magazine release. You can either get it with your trigger finger or hit it with your thumb. So for a package that does what this thing does and completely collapses into the stock, I'm actually pretty happy with the ergonomics. I thought that they might have to jeopardize a little bit more, but since this thing is very light and fairly easy to operate, I think they actually nailed it on that one. Now accuracy wise, by the looks of my target, it seems like this thing might be decently accurate as well. That is another thing that I'm kind of surprised about because of how all of these components can obviously be removed. Let me actually put another full 8-round magazine into one of these freshly painted targets, and then we can go and see what it looks like from about 25 yards. All right, I'm gonna shoot this thing from the bench. Like I said, 25 yards to give it the best performance possible. All right, so here we have the freshly painted TA target. 25 yards there was a pretty decent group. I had one go awry, that was probably my own fault. But with the peep sights and everything that I'm working with here, I don't think that is too terribly bad. So that takes care of some of the initial questions and concerns that I had of this rifle. Now the only thing left to do is to shoot it some more and see how much fun we can actually have with this. Accuracy seems to be pretty good with this thing so far, so let's step out here to 50 yards and see if we can make that steel ring. Eight for 8. Let's move back a little bit. Now I'm back here at about 100 yards. It's gonna be kind of difficult to not have the front sight post covering up the entire target, and it may also be hard for you guys to even hear the targets if I hit them at all. We'll see what happens. Not too shabby. I don't know if you guys could hear those targets ringing with the 22, but I hit a majority of those shots. The front sight posts at this distance pretty much takes up the entire full ADAP target on my TA silhouettes. And I've never done this before, but I might go back further into the woods and see if I can stretch this thing out even more. All right, I'm way back here in the sticker bushes, probably getting some poison ivy at like 130. between 130 and 150 yards. I don't really have much to lean up against here, so it's gonna be hard doing this freehand standing, but we'll see what we can do. Any of those hits? Hey, got one. All right, so we got about 3 there. Again, don't know if you guys heard that, but it's a pretty far shot. I was aiming a little bit high, thinking that the bullet might drop a little bit, but once I put the sight right on the head, got a couple hits, so not too shabby. Think I can do one of these? Too high. Not terrible. You know, we gotta do a mag dump. But they're only 8 rounds, so we got a bonus mag. 7 shots. I only put 7 rounds in there. Ruined the bonus mag. All right guys, back for my final impression on the AR-7 from Henry Repeating Arms. I have to say I'm actually pretty impressed with this little package. Ergonomic wise and design wise, it's obviously going to be a bit weird, especially if you're a left-handed shooter. That might give you a little bit of an issue, but for someone like myself, right-handed shooter, the way this entire package was designed was obviously built this way for a reason, and it's pretty unique, especially when it comes in at under $300. Although the design and the ergonomics of this thing are a little bit goofy, it still performed very, very well. Even out to like 130 to 150 yards, however far back I was there, I was still landing shots. So if you're bench resting this thing out in the wilderness, maybe shooting rabbits or anything for that matter, I think this thing can poke out to a pretty reasonable distance. So the few concerns that I had in the beginning, like does this thing actually float? They don't advertise that it does float, but it is cool that you can take this thing into water and not have to worry about losing it. This is obviously going to be good for people who are bush pilots, or they're out on boats, or just backpacking and hiking. So this thing is small, compact, light, super easy to just throw into a bag and take with you pretty much anywhere you go. I guess we can talk about the trigger for a second, since we were talking about the accuracy. This really isn't anything to write home about, but at the same time, it's really not that bad for coming in at like $250. It is a little stiff, and there really isn't a whole lot of take up. You basically just put your finger on the trigger, and I would say it's around a 4 to 5 pound pull. The brake is pretty crisp and clean. The reset. On the reset, it does feel a bit gritty and I don't know, just not the smoothest, but then again, it is only a 22. You're right back on the wall for another shot. Now, another thing that I haven't really touched on yet is this charging handle. It is a little bit goofy because it does recess into the receiver. That way you can obviously fold this thing up and put it all inside of the stock. I don't know if I would say that it's a pro or a con, but from time to time when I would put a magazine in there, I would go up to pull on it with my trigger finger, and obviously you have to pull it out first. That way you can chamber around. Another thing is that this bolt obviously does not lock back on the last shot. Again, that's something that I guess could be viewed as a con, but in my opinion, it's not really, because this rifle is just a survival rifle. You're not going to be out there shooting off a full 8-round mag and then doing a tactical reload. I guess unless there are some zombies coming to get you, huh? So now that I'm done shooting, I can simply remove the barrel with the nut, simply pull that off, slide it back into the stock, unscrew the bolt that goes into the receiver. Charging handle goes back into the bolt or receiver, stows away. And then of course the 2 magazines, you can keep them loaded if you so choose. So that's it. Nice clean package. I can throw this thing in my backpack, take it camping, hiking, pretty much anywhere, and as soon as I return everything back into the stock, accuracy does not seem to be an issue. So I guess that's all I really had to say about the US Survival Rifle. If you guys have any questions on it, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. I gotta give a big shout out to the guys at Schuylkill Gunworks for providing the ammo for this video. If you wanna check them out, they are now on Instagram, so go give them a follow and tell them that I sent you. If you are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every week, and maybe I will get my hands on some more cool, unique, niche style guns like this in the future. That's all for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.